Watching a baseball player start and finish his career with the same team is an extreme rarity nowadays. It's just commonplace in the current landscape of the game for players to test offers, grow frustrated with team situations, or in worse cases, be unceremoniously cut from the teams they considered home. The Chipper Joneses, David Wrights, and Derek Jeters of the game have essentially disappeared because at the end of the day, baseball is a business. But this notion has pretty much always been true for relievers. They're simply not valued as highly as starting pitchers and are thus viewed as expendable. They're never taken highly in drafts, and most relievers are former starting pitchers in the first place. To not only last a long time in this game as a reliever, but to also stay in one place means that that pitcher must be absolutely incredible, near perfect at their job. To this, I can only really think of Mariano Rivera as an example. Kenley Jansen has been a Dodger for a dozen years, but I think he may finally depart this offseason. Even the great Trevor Hoffman eventually ended up in Milwaukee after 16 years in San Diego, and he was in Florida before he even got to the West Coast. Today we'll be talking about a reliever who quietly retired after the end of the 2021 season after pitching for 14 years in the league. He endured 2 career-threatening injuries, was traded multiple times, was forced into various roles as a pitcher, and never really could call any place he pitched a home. Despite all of this adversity, he hung around for well over a decade, and I think his story is one worth telling. This is the story of Joakim Soria. The Mexican-born Soria was originally signed by the Los Angeles Dodgers as an 18-year-old. He was a flame-throwing starting pitcher with 6 different types of pitches in his arsenal. He was going to be a project, sure, but there was plenty of reason to believe in his potential. But all of this changed when Soria pitched in just 4 rookie ball games in 2002 before undergoing Tommy John surgery very early in his career. This caused him to miss 2 full years, not returning to the mound again until he was 20 years old. For most pitchers, this could be a career death sentence. After the Dodgers released him, Soria clawed his way back to the minors by pitching the entire 2005 season in the Mexican League. His numbers didn't jump off the page, but San Diego decided to take a flyer on him. He'd bounced to San Diego and pitched just 7 games in single-A ball before being poached by the Kansas City Royals with the 2nd pick in the 2006 Rule 5 draft. He came 1 slot behind Ryan Gillespie, who never played a major league game, and 1 slot ahead of Josh Hamilton, who I've heard is pretty good. He'd make the ball club for the 2007 season and pitched to a 3.74 ERA in his first 20 appearances, almost immediately being thrust into the closer role as a rookie. His job wasn't in any danger on an unimpressive Royals squad, but come this summer, Soria began to establish himself as a serious weapon in the KC bullpen. GM Dayton Moore originally said that the team's hopes were that he would turn into a number 2 or number 3 starting pitcher, but he was just so dominant as a closer. He continued saying there are 2 things you need to do to be a great reliever. You need to throw strikes and you can't pitch with any fear, and Joakim checked both of those boxes. For the Royals, he'd rattle off 17 consecutive scoreless appearances after temporarily being removed as the closer, including 11 shutout innings for a perfect month of June in 2007. He'd reclaimed the closer role by August and finished the year with 17 saves for the Royals and a 2.48 ERA. He was 5th among all relievers in Fangraphs WAR, among the likes of Bobby Jenks and Heath Bell. This earned him enough votes for a 7th place finish in AL Rookie of the Year voting, with Dustin Pedroia taking home the award. Despite making the big leagues as a reliever and never starting, Soria maintained that 6-pitch arsenal from when he was first scouted. Most relievers have a fastball and a go-to off-speed pitch, but with a fastball, cutter, sinker, changeup, curveball, and slider at his disposal, Soria made for an extremely unique type of closer, and he never strayed from this arsenal his entire career. Soria was officially a fixture in the back end of the Royals bullpen, and he opened the 2008 season with 13 straight saves, breaking the Royals club record of 11. He was scored on in just 2 of 35 outings all season long, and he'd make his first All-Star game in 2008 as the lone Royals representative. By season's end, he had posted 42 saves with a 1.60 ERA, with that mark only being bested by Brad Ziegler, Mariano Rivera, Joe Nathan, and Grant Balfour out of qualified relievers. This earned him a 3-year extension with the Royals, and he'd make them look like geniuses for this deal. Soria continued to deal for the Royals from 2009 to 2011, posting a 2.66 ERA and 101 saves in 173 games over 3 seasons. The Royals remained uncompetitive, but Soria racked up another All-Star Game appearance and even got both Cy Young and MVP votes in 2010. The only other Royals tenured as long as Soria from 2007 were Billy Butler, Alex Gordon, and Luke Hochevar, all of whom made their debuts the same year as him, with the latter 2 staying with the Royals through their 2015 World Series win. In his 5-year tenure with Kansas City, few were better than Soria. He was 6th among relievers in wins above replacement over that stretch, which perhaps undersells his production, because he was able to outperform his FIP numerous times throughout the years. Among pitchers with more than 300 innings during that time frame, only Mariano Rivera had a lower ERA than Soria's 2.40 mark. elite company. Soria very well could have been a Royals pitcher through those playoff years as well, but disaster struck in 2012 spring training as Soria damaged his right UCL, forcing him into yet another Tommy John surgery. His 2012 season, as well as his 5-year Royals run, came to an unceremonious end, and many feared this might have been the end of his career. Few pitchers come back from a second Tommy John surgery, especially this early in their career. Soria would never again experience the comfort of stability in his career from this point. The Rangers took a flyer on him for the 2013 season and had him replace Joe Nathan as closer when he departed for Detroit. Those who were worried about Soria's career coming to an end were quelled, as a 3.16 ERA in 61 games over 2 seasons in Texas eased that speculation. 2014 marked the first instance of a frequent tradition that would continue to occur in the latter half of Soria's career, signing a cost-efficient 1-year deal with the team solely for the purpose of being traded to a contender at the trade deadline. From 2014 to 2021, Soria would be traded a staggering 5 times. After his time in Kansas City, he played for 8 different teams in 8 years, not including a second stint with the Royals, longer than any stint he spent with any of those 8 teams. So here's a brief history. After locking down 17 saves with the Rangers in 2014, he'd be flipped to the Tigers, who were well on their way to another American League Central crown. They faced off against the Orioles in the American League Division Series, and after getting throttled in a 12-3 Game 1 loss, Detroit held a 6-3 lead in Game 2. It was a combined blow-up between Jabba Chamberlain and Joakim Soria that would allow the Orioles to put up a 4-run 8th, punctuated by this iconic Delman Young bases-clearing double. This allowed Baltimore to complete a 7-6 comeback win and finish the series sweep 2 days later. A week later, Soria's Royals would eliminate the Orioles from the ALCS on their way to an improbable World Series run. Soria's 4.91 ERA with Detroit spoke to his likely discomfort with being traded for the first time, but he'd slide into this role much better in the 2015 season and on. He'd be upgraded to Detroit's closer role and record 24 saves before being placed on the block in the middle of the season. This would be one of the last times in his career that Soria would be the definitive closer of a team, but as we know, he's able to adjust to pretty much any role. He'd be acquired by none other than the Pittsburgh Pirates, who were in the midst of a rare contention window. Flipped back to the Tigers was Jacoby Jones, but the Pirates came out the winners here, with Soria's 29 games and 2.03 ERA adding on to the already stacked Pittsburgh bullpen that included Mark Melancon and Jason Grilli. Part of what helped Soria stay in the league for so long was reinvention. We know that he was a 6-pitch arsenal guy, but after several years of mainly relying on a fastball and cutter combo, he ditched his cutter almost completely in 2015 and started a trend of using his changeup and curveball much more. This would be a consistent theme through his older years. Soria would also get a sense of playoff redemption with the Pirates, striking out the side in his wildcard game inning, but his team would suffer a bitter defeat again, with the Cubs eliminating the Pirates. Meanwhile, his former home in the Royals would finish the job in 2015, winning the World Series, with one of their best weapons being their superb bullpen. Their recent playoff success attracted Soria enough to come home for the first time in 5 years, rejoining the Royals on a 3-year deal. Soria said that he appreciated the faith the team was putting in him, and while nothing can be confirmed, the rejuvenation he had from returning to a team where he had his best seasons probably was the catalyst that extended his career a few more years. The reason I say this is because his velocity dipped as low as 90.8 on his average fastball in 2014, but in 2016 with the Royals, it spiked back up to 93.1 on average, the highest average of any point in his entire career. He also jacked up the usage of his changeup in 2016 to the tune of 30.1% as his go-to secondary pitch. He'd never used his changeup more than 17% at any point in his career. Soria remained reliable through the final 5 seasons of his career, with 2 solid seasons back home in Kansas City before being flipped to 5 different teams in his final 3 years. He enjoyed his first slice of playoff victory in 2018 with the Brewers as they made it to the NLCS, and then once again in 2020 with the A's as they won their playoff series against the White Sox. He struggled to an ERA above 5 in 2021 before finally hanging up his cleats just a few weeks ago. As I noted before, it was a quiet retirement for Joakim Soria, but I think this was perfect for the type of player that he was. We've seen bombastic and emphatic relievers over the years, with guys like Jose Valverde, Brian Wilson, and Sergio Romo showing a lot of personality on the mound. But Soria was stone cold. He was methodical, he was poised, and had one simple goal of getting the job done. He was every team's dream closer. So let's take a look at his standing in MLB history books after his career finished. From 2007 to 2021, only 4 relievers appeared in more games than Joakim Soria's total of 773 games. Tyler Clippard, Sergio Romo, Fernando Rodney, and Joe Smith. Joakim Soria ranks 57th in baseball history for most games pitched with 427, and 42nd in career saves with 229, which also ranked 5th among active players when he was still in the league. Aside from Josh Hamilton and Johan Santana, he's probably the best Rule 5 selection under the modern system. In terms of his Kansas City tenure, he pitched in 427 games for the Royals with 162 saves, good for 3rd in club history. His 2.82 ERA is the 4th lowest of anyone that pitched at least 200 innings with the Royals, and he stands a good shot to wind up in the Royals Hall of Fame as one of the greatest relievers in club history. It's common knowledge that MLB relievers never really get the love that they deserve, even when they're fantastic at what they do. I think I never really appreciated Soria enough, maybe because he never played for my team or the rivals of my team, or maybe because he was so consistent that he just flew under my radar. But deep diving on his career was thoroughly enjoyable for me, and I sincerely hope his retirement treats him exceptionally well. There's not a ton of pitchers that come back from 2 Tommy John surgeries and have success at that. Joakim Soria's career is extremely rare, so I think we should all appreciate the Joakim Sorias of the game before they disappear from now on. Because as we know in baseball, sports, and life in general, you don't really know what you have in someone or something until it's gone. That'll do it for today's video. Today's video was brought to you by Manscaped, the leading men's hygiene brand. They just launched new products including their all-new ultra premium body wash and 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, but as always I gotta tell you guys about the Lawnmower 4.0 as part of the Performance Package 4.0. It's the electric trimmer that has proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to reduce cuts on your you-know-whats. It's also waterproof so you can use it in the shower, alongside other products in the Performance Package like the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver, the anti-chafing ball deodorant, moisturizer, and toner. This hygiene bundle will also come with the Weed Whacker, which I use for nose hairs and it works extremely well, as well as a pair of their Manscaped anti-chafing boxers. The company is going above and beyond with this assortment of products, and they just launched their 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, which has key ingredients with benefits that include hydrating, nourishing, conditioning the scalp, and strengthening your hair at the same time. So go to manscaped.com and use the code OLIVE for 20% off and free shipping, and get yourself some of these great products. Once again, that's code OLIVE for 20% off and free shipping. Thanks for watching today's video.